Wait, stop! Don't fight! I'm so sorry. Are you alright?
Miss Honda, Toru.
Now, if you watched anime in the early 2000s, you've most likely heard of Fruits Basket. Based on the popular shoujo manga series by Natsuki Takaya, Fruits Basket was adapted into a 26-episode anime series in 2001. Fruits Basket follows Toru Honda, who after the death of her mother meets Yuki, Kyo and Shugure Soma, and soon discovers their secret that 12 members of the Soma family turn into the animals of the Chinese zodiac. And so, every time one of the cursed Somas is hugged by a member of the opposite sex, or is stressed or tired, they instantly turn into their animal form. Fruits Basket was actually the first anime I ever watched, so I was more than excited to hear that the series was going to get a reboot in 2019, which would cover the entire manga, unlike the 2001 version. So with a third season on its way, I thought it'd be interesting to share my casting ideas for if Fruits Basket were to ever get adapted into a K-drama. And as most K-dramas have been adapted from webtoons, manga or anime, it wouldn't be a stretch to imagine that Fruits Basket could also get a K-drama adaptation in the future. I also think that Fruits Basket would work quite well as a K-drama, especially as it has a love triangle at the center of its story and also covers a lot of serious topics around abuse, mental health and grief. Now, if you're familiar with this series, you know that Fruits Basket has a lot of characters. So to keep this video from being super long, I'm only going to be focusing on the main characters and also the characters that are important to the plot. But before we start, please remember that these are just my own opinions and ideas, which shouldn't be taken seriously. With that being said, here are my casting ideas for if Fruits Basket was a K-drama. So our main character is Toru Honda. Toru truly is the heart of the series, and we see her act as this sense of comfort and safety for a lot of the Zodiac members, and can often be seen putting others before herself. As a character, Toru is kind-hearted, gentle, optimistic, and cheerful, but she's also known to be quite gullible and naive, which means she can often be taken advantage of. But despite her clumsy and airheaded personality, Toru is emotionally intelligent and insightful when it comes to people's feelings and shows glimpses of wisdom from time to time. And it's because of her kind nature, she always tries to see the good in everyone she meets and is willing to help them no matter what. So when considering who could play Toru if Fruits Basket were to get a Korean drama adaptation, the person I thought would be perfect is Kim Yoo-jung. After rising to fame as a child actress, Kim Yoo-jung found mainstream popularity after appearing in the historical drama Love in the Moonlight alongside Park Bo-gum. And having seen her in the drama as well as watching a few of her interviews, she has quite a cute and bubbly personality. And I also think she looks quite similar to the character as she has quite soft and cute features, which is why I think she'd be ideal for a character like Toru. So moving on, our next character is Yuki Soma. Yuki is the rat of the zodiac, and so he's considered one of the highest members of the zodiac and is the closest to the god. And because of this, it means he has quite a strenuous relationship with some of the zodiac members, specifically Kyo, who is the cat of the zodiac. As a character, Yuki is seen as perfect or even princely by most of his peers at school and displays a very kind and charming personality. But at the same time, Yuki is quite cold and reserved for most people and actually has a lot of self-esteem issues that is rooted in childhood trauma. So it's important that the actor playing Yuki is able to capture that princely charm, but is also able to convey his deep insecurities and internal struggles. And so the actor that I think would be able to play Yuki quite well is newcomer Seo Joon. And whilst he's relatively new to the acting scene, Seo Joon has made a strong impression on a lot of viewers due to his eye acting and boyish looks. Ji-hoon made his acting debut in the 2016 drama Signal as a leading suspect to a high school sexual assault case. And while his role was relatively small, he managed to make a lasting impression amongst viewers for his villainous portrayal. Ji-hoon has since strayed away from the more villainous bad boy roles and has instead taken up characters who are more charming and sweet. But it was his portrayal as the innocent and shy Bae Jun-young in the 2017 drama Solomon's Perjury that made me think he would be a great fit for a character like Yuki. In Solomon's Perjury, Ji-hoon plays a character that has a lot of family issues and is even driven to the point where he wants to commit suicide. But despite going through a lot of these issues, Bae Jun-young keeps a lot of these feelings to himself, and so his personality is quite distant and quiet when he's at school. And Ji-hoon conveys these internal struggles quite well, as he's able to show varying emotions just through his eyes. He also has that flower boy appearance that Yuki has, and so I think he'd be a really good fit for the character. And now we move on to the hot-headed cat of the zodiac, and that's Akito Sohma. As a character, Kyo's quite short-tempered, stubborn and brash, but at the same time, Kyo can be charismatic, passionate and determined if he puts his mind towards something. Now, as he is the cat of the Chinese zodiac, he is excluded from the rest of the zodiac members and is often looked down upon by others. And this goes back to the original story of the Chinese zodiac, where the rat deceives the cat and therefore makes him miss the banquet. And it's because of this that Kyo harbors a strong hatred towards Yuki and blames him for all of his problems. But in spite of this tough personality, Kyo is actually very sensitive and vulnerable and cares deeply about the people he loves. And so when casting Kyo, the actor I thought would be quite well suited for the role is Jae Wook. Jae Wook made his acting debut in the 2018 drama Memories of the Alhambra. But it was actually his performance as the resident bad boy Baekhyun in the 2019 drama Extraordinary You that enabled him to gain mainstream success. Like Kyo, Baekhyun could be described as your classic tsundere, and if you're not sure what that means, it's basically a term that describes a character who is initially cold and distant and at times hostile, and then they gradually show a warmer, friendlier side over time. As Baekhyun, Jae Wook captures this personality trait quite well, which I think is a great quality to play a character like Kyo. So now that we've covered our main trio, I'm now going to move on to our more secondary characters, starting with Shugure Soma. Now, when we're first introduced to Shugure, he's depicted as laid back, a bit silly, and at times slightly perverted. But as the story goes on, we realise there's actually a more sinister side to Shugure and is quite manipulative and willing to do whatever it takes to get what he wants. Now, in considering who should play Shugure, there were actually two actors I had in mind. So my first choice for who could play Shugure is Park Seo-joon. Park Seo-joon is best known for his roles in dramas such as Kill Me, Heal Me, She Was Pretty and Hwarang, as well as more recently the 2020 drama Itaewon Class. And while Park Seo-joon is most renowned for his romantic comedic roles, he has shown that he's able to play a variety of different characters and is willing to step outside of his comfort zone rather than settling on extremely stereotypical characters. And so I think Park Seo-joon would really sink his teeth into a character like Shugure, who is a character that is far more complicated than what first meets the eye. Now, another actor I considered for the role of Shugure is Kim Woo-bin. So initially starting his career as a runway model, he made his acting debut in the television drama White Christmas. He later made his breakthrough with dramas such as School 2013 and The Heirs, and then went on to star in box office hits such as The Con Artists and 20. The reason I thought Kim Woo-bin would be good for a character like Shugure is he has this kind of cheekiness to him and almost has this prowling demeanor, which is why I think he could play Shugure quite well. I do think he'd also look better in the role in comparison to Park Seo Joon, just because he has this nonchalant vibe to him that I think would work quite well. So moving on, we've now come to Hattori Soma. Hattori is one of the oldest members of the cursed Somas and is also the Soma family's personal doctor. When we first meet Hattori, he's quite serious, level-headed and composed, which can be interpreted as quite cold and intimidating. But behind his somber and stern personality, Hattori is deeply gentle and kind and prioritizes others' happiness before his own. Hattori has the power to erase people's memory, and because of that, he tends to have a very low opinion of himself. And while all of the Soma members have their own personal demons that they're dealing with, I just feel that Hattori is such a tragic character because he truly believes he does not deserve love, and I do find his story arc to be one of the saddest. So when casting Hattori, the actor that came to my mind straight away was Jae Wook. Now, you're probably most familiar with him from his portrayal as the Grim Reaper in the hugely successful 2018 drama Goblin. And while he may be slightly too old for the role, I just think he suits the role of Hattori really well, especially with his looks, and he just has a great straight-faced expression, which is really important for a character like Hattori. And now we move on to the iconic Ayame Soma. Ayame is best friends with both Hattori and Shigure, and together they make up the Madobachi trio. Ayame is also the older brother of Yuki Soma, but unlike his brother, Ayame is extremely vivacious, flamboyant, and confident. Throughout the series, Ayame is seen trying desperately to fix his fractured relationship with Yuki, but he often ends up saying the wrong thing or driving Yuki further away. Now, in the series, Ayame has a very distinct appearance, especially with his long, silvery grey hair. And he's also described as looking quite feminine in a similar way that Yuki is. And so the actor I thought would be a good fit is No Min-woo. As well as acting, No Min-woo is also a musician, and whilst he hasn't been in a lot of dramas, his performance in Full House 2 as an over-the-top musician made me think that he'd be able to play a character like Ayame. No Min-woo also has quite feminine features, and I've seen him sport long hair, so I think he'd look quite well in the role. So the next character is Momiji Soma. Now, Momiji's probably the hardest character to cast, and that's because he's depicted in the series as being almost childlike and is initially mistaken by Toru as being an elementary student. But in reality, he's actually the same age as Hatsuharu Soma and only 1 year younger than Toru. And on top of that, Momiji is actually biracial, as he's half Japanese and half German. So casting a Korean actor as Momiji was quite difficult, as I had to find someone that was both biracial but also quite young looking. So to compromise, I tried to find someone that still had a baby face, as well as someone who could convincingly play a more childish and cutesy character without it being too weird. And so the actor I thought could play a character like this is Kim Donggi. Whilst Kim Donggi is a newcomer, he's probably most known for acting in shows such as Sky Castle and Itaewon Class. Now, Kim Donggi is quite tall, coming in at 5'10", which doesn't necessarily work for Momiji, considering that he's supposed to look quite childlike, and so his height factors into that. But that being said, Kim Donggi still does have a really young-looking face, so I think he'd be able to pull it off appearance-wise. And while I can't really comment on his acting, as I haven't seen the shows he's appeared in, I do believe he's played characters who are quite cute and kind, so I don't think there should be a problem. So our next character is Hatsuharu Soma. Hatsuharu, or simply Haru, is the ox of the Chinese zodiac. And because of this, it means he's got quite a volatile personality. So whilst he's usually calm and placid, He can very easily become what the other Zodiac members call Black Haru, which is a term used to describe his more violent, short-tempered, and rude personality. And so the actor I thought could play Haru is Seo Joon. Seo Joon has actually received critical acclaim from a very young age, particularly for his acting in the 2012 film Juvenile Offender. So I first discovered Seo Joon in Solomon's Perjury, appearing alongside Seo Joon. And in Solomon's Perjury, he plays quite a troubled, angsty character. And whilst he isn't a main character of the show, he still managed to make a strong impression on me whenever he was on screen. But the reason I thought he could play Haru quite well is that he's able to play quite edgy characters, but at the same time, from watching a few of his interviews, he's quite shy, quiet, and sweet, which is basically Haru in a nutshell. So the last secondary character I'm going to touch on is Kagura Soma. So Kagura is usually quite sweet, polite, and girly, but at the same time, because she is the boar of the Chinese zodiac, she can become extremely violent, forceful, and emotionally aggressive. And that's usually directed at Kyo, as he is the target of her affections. So the actress that immediately sprung to mind when I think of Kagura is Kim Go-eun. Kim Go-eun has appeared in a handful of successful dramas such as Goblin, Cheese and the Trap, and more recently, The King, Eternal Monarch. But what made me specifically think she would be a great fit for Kagura was her portrayal as the aggressive Boksun in the 2014 film Monster. Her character is even dubbed a psycho bitch, and Kim Go-eun definitely delivers. Now, before we get into our final character, Akito Sohma, I do want to preface that I will be going through major spoilers from the manga, as it's quite integral to the casting of the character. So if you haven't read the manga or you're not familiar with what happens and don't want any spoilers, I really recommend skipping this part. So now we've come to the main antagonist of Fruits Basket, Akito Sohma. Akito is the head of the Soma family and fulfills the role of a god of the Chinese zodiac. So, jumping straight into spoiler territory, Akito is first introduced using male pronouns, but we later learn that Akito is actually a female and was forcibly raised male by her mother Ren in fear that a female child would take away the attention from her. Akito has a really toxic relationship with the other Zodiac members and will resort to violence and abuse in order to control them. And even in moments where we don't see Akito, she still manages to have a strong power over a lot of the Zodiac members, and we realize very quickly that she's a character to be feared. But despite her violent outbreaks and cruel tendencies, Akito herself is a victim of abuse. And it's because of this psychological abuse at the hands of her mother Ren, Akito resorts to physical and mental torture to make everyone too afraid to abandon her. I do think that Akito is probably my favourite character from the series, and that's because she's a really well-realised, complicated character, and her unpredictability makes her such an effective antagonist. Now, I'm sure a live-action version of Fruits Basket would have to handle the gender reveal of Akito quite differently, as it would be harder to hide her real gender, unlike the manga or anime. That being said, I still looked into actresses that are quite androgynous, as it adds another level of ambiguity to the character. And so the actress I thought could play Akito is Lee Joo-young. Lee Joo-young has played a lot of gender-fluid roles throughout her career, but she's probably most well known for her role in Itaewon Class, where she played a transgender character called Ma Hyun-yi. Lee Joo-young has a very cold, delicate appearance, and I think that would work really well for a character like Akito, and her husky voice would also add to that ambiguity around Akito's gender. So those are my casting ideas for if Fruits Basket was a K-drama. If you liked my choices or have any ideas of your own, then please feel free to sound off in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video and thanks for watching.